that Steve Harvey tried to get Bernie Mac's role on Ocean's 11,
right,
and even try to like undercut him in price and stuff like that. Do you know anything about the story?
It was weird to me because I was there the whole time. And one of the first things people say is, he knew you loved him. And I'm like, that's not really, how do you know that that's true if I didn't tell him?
At 62,
D.L. Hughley finally spoke out, pulling back the curtain on footage Hollywood tried to bury and exposing the truths they never wanted anyone to see about Bernie Mac's last years.
And I hear somebody come in my room and I go, who is that? Nigga, who is that? I like, nigga, who the is this in my room? Who the is in my room? I mean, you better get the out of my room. We both go to the door with pistols in our hand.
For 16 years, the lies stayed hidden, tucked away in grief and backroom deals. But the real story, why Bernie Mac spent his final days sidelined, isolated, and betrayed, was about to surface. Let's get into it. Hollywood had one non-negotiable rule: know your place. Bernie Mac broke it, big time. When the original Kings of Comedy tour launched in 1997, Bernie was supposed to be grateful for a middle-of-the-lineup spot. Steve Harvey was the established face, TV star, radio heavyweight, king of the hierarchy. Everyone stayed in their lane. Everyone except Bernie.
You know, Steve at one point was, you know, uber successful, and then Bernie started to, because he didn't ever think he would get the opportunity he got. But
night after night, city after city, Bernie shredded that structure. His raw, no-filter honesty cut through the polished comedy of everyone around him. When he hit the stage, the room didn't just laugh, they felt him. This wasn't just jokes. This was unfiltered truth, straight to the soul. The change was subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. Bernie stopped playing grateful underdog and started realizing something huge. He was the reason people showed up. Fans came for the Kings of Comedy, but they left quoting Bernie Mac. His stories, raising his sister's kids, tackling life's chaos, his fearless takes on family and society hit like precision strikes every time.
Once he did, America loved him, like we all kind of knew they would, and he decided to go a different way.
In that closing spot, not just ego, it's power, respect, and the biggest paycheck. The closer is the star, the name people came to see. When Bernie demanded that slot, he wasn't just chasing limelight, he was upending the whole system that boxed Black comedians into preset roles. D.L. Hughley watched it all with awe and worry. He knew exactly what Bernie was facing. Hollywood's unspoken rule: Black talent could rise, but never enough to threaten the people already in power. And here's the kicker. Bernie becoming the breakout star, suddenly the supporting act was electrifying the crowd, and the industry had no clue how to handle it. How do you keep the billing intact when the underdog steals the show? How do you maintain Hollywood alliances when undeniable talent breaks every rule in the book?
Oh, nobody ever tried to blow out somebody else's candle to make theirs burn brighter. It was just cats that had natural affinity for each other.
And here's the bitter irony. Everything that made Bernie Mac legendary also made him a target. His refusal to sugarcoat, his insistence on respect, his rising confidence in his own worth. The very traits fans worshipped terrified the industry. Behind the scenes, deals were being whispered about without him. TV producers reached out. Studios debated solo projects. The Kings of Comedy had accidentally unleashed Hollywood's nightmare, a Black comedian who knew he was a force and wasn't afraid to show it. Pressure came from all sides: executives protecting the hierarchy, comedians whose gigs depended on the system staying intact. Everyone had skin in the game if Bernie shook things up. But Bernie had already tasted something Hollywood couldn't give: that raw, unfiltered connection between truth and audience. Once you feel that, crumbs of approval don't cut it anymore. And Hollywood responded like it always did when Black talent refused to play nice. Couldn't control him? They'd try to drain the joy from his rise. Step 1, manufacture conflict. Trade mags suddenly reported tension and ego clashes in the Kings. Journalists who'd never been backstage suddenly became experts on the group's issues. D.L. Hughley watched a masterclass in character assassination dressed as entertainment news. Bernie's authenticity? Now difficult. Confidence? Labeled arrogance. His demands for respect? Branded diva behavior. And the worst part, they weaponized his wins. Every milestone became proof of ego. Every fair request was spun as unreasonable. Hollywood had perfected the formula. Make a black performer's normal expectations look outrageous, and the public swallows it whole.
There is this rumor that Steve Harvey tried to get Bernie Mac's role on Ocean's 11,
Right.
and even try to like undercut him in price and stuff like that. Do you know anything about the story?
Behind the public PR storms, the real sabotage happened quietly. The Ocean's 11 rumor became a perfect glimpse at Hollywood's tactics. Whether Steve Harvey actually tried to undercut Bernie's pay didn't matter. The whisper itself said it all. It revealed how fast established stars will undermine anyone threatening their seat at the table. Hughley spotted the pattern. Opportunities that seemed made for Bernie vanished. TV bookings canceled last minute. Film roles went to less talented comics who were far more compliant. Alone, each incident looked like bad luck. Together, a clear picture of coordinated exclusion. The psychological strain was brutal. Bernie spent energy defending himself against accusations from everywhere and nowhere at once. Balancing real opportunities while dodging invisible smear campaigns wore him down in ways only his inner circle truly understood.
But never once did I see anything. When I read some of the things that people were alleging, it was weird to me because I was there the whole time.
The real damage? Isolation, not just the rumors. Comedians who might have had his back pulled away, scared Hollywood would punish anyone siding with someone labeled difficult. Executives who admired his talent hesitated, wary of a man now tagged as problematic. The alienation hit Bernie mentally as much as professionally. He began second-guessing himself, wondering if asking for basic respect was really too much. That constant gaslighting chipped away at the unstoppable confidence that had defined him. What Hughley saw was a masterclass in how Hollywood keeps black talent in line. Success is allowed, but only inside the box they build. Step outside, demand autonomy, expect the same treatment given freely to less accomplished white comedians, and the machine grinds you down. Bernie's crime? Believing he deserved equal treatment. In a system built on quiet racial hierarchy, that belief alone made him dangerous. By 2005, Bernie was fighting battles he never even saw coming. His sarcoidosis diagnosis should have triggered compassion. Instead, it became another weapon used to shrink his opportunities. Hughley watched, stunned, as illness was twisted into a career blockade.
I remember I was at the golf course and we were getting ready to put it together and everybody was all excited and so it was, you remember how the Lakers had Chris Paul for a second and then the next day they did, that's how it was.
The proposed Kings of Comedy reunion could have been Bernie's triumphant comeback. Hughley remembered the early buzz, the record-breaking plans, staggering financial projections, and massive audience demand. Everything promised history. But Bernie wasn't the same grateful underdog from the early days. His hit TV show, film success, and growing clout gave him leverage. When he used it to demand equal creative control and fair pay, executives panicked. Suddenly, what should have been the biggest comedy reunion ever became too complicated to pull off.
Bernie, felt like he didn't want to do it anymore. He was on his own path, and Steve. So, nothing like that ever happens or doesn't happen for a reason.
Hughley's public explanation sounded polite, but the reality was darker. Bernie didn't walk away. He was quietly cut out. The moment he refused a secondary role in a group where he'd become the star, the project collapsed. It was the same pattern. Opportunities appeared, sparked excitement, then vanished the second Bernie asked to be treated like a true partner rather than someone expected to stay silent and grateful. Meanwhile, his health was weaponized in ways that defied basic humanity. Producers cited concerns about his condition to pass him over. Insurance hurdles made filming nearly impossible. Despite a flawless professional record, new barriers were built around him, designed to contain him, control him, and keep him from claiming what was rightfully his.
I was disappointed, but I understood that, those kind of things happen. And I just, got the memory of being with cats that I loved and making history.
The pressure of fighting a serious illness while being quietly blacklisted by the industry pushed Bernie into a brutal, heartbreaking cycle. Every rejection hit harder as his health declined, and that nonstop struggle for basic respect only worsened his condition. Hughley watched helplessly as his friend was crushed by forces he couldn't control. Even worse, the strain fractured Bernie's relationships with the other kings. The brotherhood that once felt unbreakable started splintering, cracked by industry politics and competition none of them ever expected. When a false report of Bernie's death surfaced just weeks before the real thing, it showed just how isolated he had become. Rumors about his health had circulated so long, it felt like the machine had already planned life without him. Bernie Mac passed on August 9, 2008, officially from pneumonia complications while being treated for sarcoidosis. But those who lived through his final years knew the truth. His downfall was as much industry-made as medical. His immune system failed twice, once in his body, once in Hollywood. And the moment news broke, the same machine that pushed him out raced to rewrite his story, instantly positioning itself as guardian of his legacy.
And one of the first things people say is, he knew you loved him. And I'm like, that's not really, how do you know that that's true if I didn't tell him?
Key switch was instant and shameless. Executives who had spent years making Bernie's life miserable suddenly flooded trade outlets with glowing tributes, praising his genius and unmatched impact. The very people who had weaponized his illness were now publicly mourning, and the messy reality of the kings of comedy scrubbed clean. The tension, the power struggles, the exclusion shaping Bernie's last years, gone. In its place, a picture-perfect brotherhood that never really existed.
It just seemed out of sync with what I experienced on the Kings of Comedy. So I never saw them do anything like that.
Hughley found himself torn between honesty and diplomacy. Telling the real story risked disrespecting Bernie's memory and could hurt the careers of the men still living. Staying silent, it let a false narrative harden into history. Pressure came from all sides. TV producers wanted heartwarming reunion specials, not uncomfortable talks about racism or industry politics. Fans preferred celebrating Black excellence, not its limits. Bernie's grieving family needed protection, not another public fight. Hughley knew the full truth would have to wait until the wounds weren't so raw.
Excited that tour, and we were all proud of each other and supportive of each other and happy to have been a part of it.
But the cover-up ran deeper than just protecting feelings. The industry had every reason to bury the real story, because exposing Bernie's treatment would have revealed patterns affecting countless other Black entertainers. His story wasn't an exception, it was the rule. Evidence was quietly locked away. Behind-the-scenes footage showing real group dynamics? In studio vaults? Contracts and emails exposing discrimination? Buried under lifetime confidentiality. Interviews where the truth slipped? Cut or shelved. In their place, Hollywood built a fairy tale. A beloved comedian supported every step of the way, passing peacefully as a respected legend.
And we were all proud of each other and supportive of each other and happy to have been a part of it.
This sanitized version of Bernie's legacy wasn't just about saving reputations. It protected Hollywood's ability to keep repeating the same patterns. If his story ever became a warning about demanding respect, other Black performers might start pushing back. Worst of all, the cover-up stole what Bernie spent his life fighting for: real recognition and earned respect. Even in death,
the industry tried to keep him in line. Years later, when comics like Cat Williams called out similar abuses, Hughley saw the courage, but by then, Bernie's false narrative had been repeated so much that the truth sounded almost like a conspiracy. Hughley's own awakening came slowly, building over time, especially after his own battles, starting with the explosive feud with Monique. That fight exposed just how quickly loyalty in this business can turn into warfare. The 2022 Detroit comedy show blow-up showed the exact same patterns that once crushed Bernie. A routine booking, 2 top comics sharing the Fox Theater stage, erupted into a firestorm when Monique saw the billing switch, putting Hughley as the closer. What should have been a simple contract issue exploded into headline-dominating chaos.
Bitch nigga, I feel sorry for D.L. Hughley's family. I feel sorry for his fucking wife, because how do you suck the dick of a coward?
Monique's attacks went far beyond professional shade. She got personal, questioning Hughley's integrity as a father, and even dragging in his daughter's assault, claiming he didn't believe the victim at first.
How I let a man touch my child, which nothing could be further from the truth. They were both 13 years old. They were friends that had grown up together. And this is something I lament to this day. Denied that I said, well, you know, that's what kids do. And I will never forgive myself for not believing her.
Hughley's response? Straight from the Bernie Mac playbook. Instead of backing down or playing nice, he hit back with receipts, contracts, schedules, emails, everything to prove his case. But by then, the Whisper campaign had already begun. The feud revealed the same patterns Hughley recognized from Bernie's life. A successful black performer demands respect, allies turn, personal attacks hit, opportunities vanish. Isolation and the difficult label hit hard. The silver lining, social media had changed the game. The platforms that spread attacks also gave performers a direct line to audiences, bypassing gatekeepers. Hughley saw how fast the industry could flip someone from insider to outsider, even a respected veteran. Opportunities once welcoming now came with whispers and distance. The same isolation that crushed Bernie loomed. But Hughley had tools Bernie never did: a daily radio show, decades of experience, and the painful knowledge of what staying silent could do. He wasn't repeating that mistake.
I'm a solid dude. My family loves me, despite all the horrible I've done. I'm as solid as they come. Can you say the same? I ain't gotta sue people or call people out. I ain't gotta argue. I just be the I am and do what I do.
The Monique War became a textbook example of how industry conflicts are weaponized against black talent. Both comics faced fallout far beyond the dispute itself. The industry used the feud to justify keeping them off stages and screens, branding them too risky. Hughley's political outspokenness turned him from entertainer into target. His 2024 Democratic National Convention appearance, where he publicly apologized to Kamala Harris for past criticisms, marked a turning point for some segments of the industry and audience alike. The apology itself sparked controversy. Hughley admitted he had attacked Harris's record as a prosecutor without proper research, misled by false narratives painting her as anti-black. Speaking to thousands at the DNC, he acknowledged spreading misinformation and pledged his support. Backlash was instant. Critics claimed he'd been paid to switch positions, framing his apology as financially motivated. Social media erupted with allegations that Democratic operatives bought his endorsement. Suddenly, political positioning was as effective at destroying opportunities as industry rivalries. Venues canceled bookings, citing security or audience backlash. The same isolation tactics that had targeted Bernie were now applied politically. The upside? Audiences admired his willingness to speak truth to power. His radio show grew, even as traditional opportunities shrank. The same authenticity that made him controversial to executives resonated with listeners tired of sanitized celebrity voices. The parallels to Bernie were clear, but with critical differences. Bernie fought alone. Hughley built alliances with others facing retaliation. Bernie relied on traditional industry channels. Hughley connected directly with audiences via social media and radio. The tactics had evolved: whisper campaigns, selective opportunity denial, market pressures, subtle, but just as lethal. At 62, D.L. Hughley had the scars and wisdom to see what destroyed Bernie Mac. Speaking out about buried footage and cover-ups wasn't just personal. It was about exposing a system that continued to crush Black talent with impunity. The tactics had changed, but the goal remained the same. Finally, the footage saw the light, revealing the real story of systematic mistreatment, shaping careers and destroying lives. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. Bye.